Hey everybody, it's Glam in a Tea, and I am here to show you a couple things. First, my skincare, and second, my brows. I'm going to show you now. I shaved off the ends of my brows to kind of play with the shapes a little bit. So I will do skincare and then I will do brows. So I'm actually going to start with my Elizabeth Arden Good Morning Eye Treatment. I've been finding, and for years and years and years, I've denied using any eye products, whether it be under eye concealers or creams. The years of tanning that I did, and the years of tanning without using any eye protection, have really taken a toll on my eyes. You can see the discoloration that I have going on my eyes, and if I were to get in a little bit closer, you can actually see some of the damage that I've done where the tissue is so thin and it wrinkles and creases super quickly. So I've been trying to take better care, whether it's taking vitamins and using creams and serums to just kind of push this along. I'm actually using my ring finger. It's kind of the one that has the least amount of pressure, so it doesn't do any of the pulling and the tearing. And I'm smearing the Elizabeth Arden Good Morning Eye Treatment all around the eyes. The next thing that I'm going to move into, I got the Herbery Hyaluronic Acid Daily Face Serum, so I'm going to put that all over. I always do my eye products first, just because any of that product can pull up and I don't want to get that hyaluronic into the eyes. So I take about half a dropper's worth, rub that together, and really press that into the skin. And as you guys can see, I have acne scarring and sun damage and everything and discoloration. So I'm trying to do my best to wear sunscreen now as spring, actually if we could ever get out of this winter that we're in. Try and take better care of my skin. I've been taking vitamins and trying to drink less Diet Coke. That's not exactly happened yet. But I did find that our local gas station, Quick Trip, it's kind of a Wisconsin thing, they have these really good fruit-flavored waters, so I've been drinking that every night at bedtime instead of having a Diet Coke. So, the last thing that I'm going to move into, and I know this is a night cream, I don't know if you guys can see that well, it's Clinique's Smart Night. I use this day and night. For me, I find that day creams are a little too drying for my skin, so I just use the night cream, put a little bit more, and really working. I know I was just kind of rubbing in circles, but if you work to pull upwards, it helps to kind of press it into the pores and really get that taken care of. Kind of a roll pat method. And that is my skincare routine. Do that morning. I'm trying to get into better care at night, removing the makeup before going to sleep. Yes, I'm really guilty of not doing that. And then moving on. If you hear kind of a weird grunty noise, that noise, Titan. He's having an allergic reaction to some treats that I got him, so he's working that through. All right, anyways, on to the brows. So I've been doing kind of a couple different methods with my brows. The first method I've been doing is really using a pencil, and I actually got the color Pop Brow Boss in dark brown, and I've actually just been using this for marking out my angles and everything. So I don't know if you guys know this, I'm sure everybody's seen the videos, but basically you want your brow to start in a straight line up from the edge of your nose, so try not to push it out as much as you can. So pretty accurate for where my brows start, and then your arch should actually go from the corner of your nose straight through the pupil and a point up, and then the end should go at an outward angle, kind of basically following this line in your eye. So my good mark here is my mole. The problem that I've been having is getting this placement here to be equal underneath. And you'll see, I'm sure there will be a couple takes on that. But let's just move into marking out our spots. I really have the dropsies today, I'm sorry. So moving in my first mark, second mark. So like I said, I've shaved a lot of my brows to kind of play with the shapes a little bit, so I pretty much already have the end of my brows marked out. And then again, where I've shaved the tails off is where my arch is. And then like I said, over here, my mole is my way of knowing where that tail is. So this is where it gets a little tricky, because this brow has actually been, so this one has a chicken pox scar, but this one actually grows in really faint. I don't know if you can see the follicles. It grows in really faint, so it's not even. So when I shaved some of it off, it took off more just because there was less hair to take off. And then again, I have a mole over here. This one's a little bit longer than where my brows should be, so I always stop right before it. But when I do my brows, sometimes it does get tied into that mole. So we have our dots, our placement. I'm gonna go in and brush the brows up. With your brows, when you brush them up, so there's a few hairs I should actually be trimming just to get them, when you brush your brows up to get them to lay in, you should take care of anything that falls outside of that line. And then as you see from years of over massively tweezing and plucking and waxing, I have some bald spots, so I'm going to fill all of those in. I am going to go in with an e.l.f. lock-on liner and brow cream and the M165 Morphe angled brush. So picking up some of the cream on the tip of the brush, what I like to do is I start at the inner underneath, and not worrying about anything that falls down even further because I clean that up afterwards. And then I pull my arch through, and then I clean it all off later. So I know it looks super high right now, but it'll all make sense in the end. So moving on to the other side. Pulling that through. So again, I look like evil villain. That's okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of follow that motion through to create that arch. And again, pulling it through. Like I said, I do a lot of cleanup, and this is where I have the problem, because for me, people always say sisters, not twins. There are days where my brows aren't even the same family tree. Like, I try, and it just doesn't happen. So, we will see what today holds. And again, it's doing what it wants. So, if I ever draw this where I want the lower part to be, I leave it and just work it in. And then, like I said, I do a lot of cleanup afterwards just to kind of even everything out. I clean up with makeup remover and then with concealer. So I know it looks like I have a ton of lines on my face, which I truly do, but it's just kind of the process that I've been able to work through. I actually had done a video, it was in my Candyland video, and I actually cut out all 8 minutes it took me to do a really terrible brow. So that was super, super quick, and I didn't care for that, but all right, now I'm gonna go in picking up just a little bit more product here. And I like for the tops of my brows to be kind of pushed down into where the hair growth is, so giving my brows a little bit of a thinner aspect, so they're not as big and thick and bushy right now. There's been days where I do the thicker, but lately I've been liking kind of back to the 90s thin brows. So I'm gonna go back in here, and I don't pull this all the way over, just because I like the definition that that gives, but then I go in and fill everything in. You'll see that shortly here. So you'll notice I didn't go all the way through too. over here to complete that arch. I'll do that afterwards. So I kind of go back and forth. I like to play back and forth to be sure they look pretty even as I go. And like I said, I do a ton of cleanup afterwards. So I'm gonna finish the shape, kind of mimicking and dropping down. We'll see how that looks. Looks a little thick on the edges, but we'll see. Excuse me. So they're looking pretty decent, but we'll see after we fill everything in and how we have to conceal. So I'm just gonna go back in with the remnants of the brush and fill in basically from where I left it open over to the tails. I will be back after I have those all filled in. See you soon. All right, so I'm back. They're all filled in. What I wanted to tell you guys is when I'm doing this part and filling in, I go with upward strokes and then I do the longer strokes out towards the edge. So as you can see, my brows are totally uneven using that. So now I'm just gonna go with some Garnier micellar water, micellar water, and clean up the brows, and then I'll show you guys how I conceal them up and even everything out, and then we're just gonna go with brows for today. So for the cleanup process, first thing I look at is the upper edges. So I know you can see that this one's a little bit more upper or more slanted up, and then this one definitely has more of a curve. So I'm gonna take some of that down, and that helped a ton. Now I'm gonna clean up the underneath part. So this one has more of a higher swoop, so we have to even this one out to match with that. Much better. Cleaning up the tails. Clean out that tail a little bit. Still not hitting perfectly, so go back in and pull this up a little bit higher. Much better. Taking the dry end and just cleaning off some of the excess out here. Try this out, so I'm gonna have to touch that up just a teeny tiny bit because I pulled some of the product away from in the brow area. Filled back in. So then the next thing that I'm gonna take is the Salon Perfect On Point in dark brown. The thing I like about this is it's kind of got some angled pieces to it, and I just kind of use that to go in from the line down here, flicking upward, filling in some of those brow hairs. And then I even do the same on the tail. I don't know how well you can see that. Just kind of fills in the illusion of more hairs, even though I pulled them off. That way it doesn't look too solidly stark that it's just product. And just using light flicking motions to give little hair pieces. And if you get it too thick like I just did, just use your fingertip or a little bit of the fingernail. As long as they're clean, pull that off. All right, filled in. Let's do some of the hair strokes. I try to use the longer, I don't know if you can see it all too well. There's like 3 different notch lengths. I try and use that longer piece on the upper end and then the shorter piece on the lower end. And then the brows are done. I don't use a brow gel to set. I probably should. I don't have one right now. My next video I'm going to do, I'm going to use my last Ulta paycheck and go in and spend it at, I haven't decided, I think I'm going to do Sephora just because I think it's kind of funny, but yeah. So we're going to go in with concealer. I've actually been using this HD lifting concealer in the shade Fair from e.l.f. or Eyes, Lips, Face. My other favorite that I absolutely fell in love with, and I think my mom had gotten it in an Ipsy bag, is the Smashbox Studio Skin 24-hour waterproof concealer. It goes on well. And the thing that I like about these versus using Shape Tape is they stay fluid and they don't dry quickly. So like the Shape Tape is really good for under the eye if you work quickly. It works really well under the brow if you work quickly. I like to get a little more precise and take my time, and so that's, I get why it's everybody's favorite for everything else, but Shape Tape is not personally one of my favorite concealers. All right, so I'm just gonna use this BBL. I think I got these off Amazon, a pack of like 20 brushes for 10 bucks, but I really like the synthetic feel of the tip of this. It really helps to move this concealer around well. So what I do is I just run some underneath, leaving a little bit of space so you can see that there, because I'm just gonna push this product up into there. So, as you can see, I'm just lightly pushing that up to where I had drawn the line. And then cleaning out that tail. And then I run the concealer, kind of block off the end here, and then run it along the top. Soften some of this down just a little bit. Pop up a little more here. And then move on to the next. So in all fairness, this process takes me between 30 and 60 seconds, but like I said, that Shape Tape for me dries so quickly that I don't have enough time to clean up, as I just don't feel like I get enough time to clean up the brow. It's just weird to me. I don't know why. So I like how this eventually dries down but stays a little damp. So moving on. As you see, it bumped up a little bit, so I'll just go back in afterwards and touch that up. Blocking off the end. Coming back in. And that is how I do my brows. The other thing I like to do just for fun is go like this and see how even they look. And you can see this one's a little bit higher. So, well, like I said, they're not even in the same family tree today, but when I don't scrunch my brows together, they look pretty good. So that's my brows. Thank you everybody for stopping by, and I will see you next week.